Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pockets Full of Soup, the storytelling show. I'm your host, Jared Petty. I'm proud to introduce to you today someone you may know already.
Hi, I'm Diana Goodman.
And on Diana Goodman's lap...
This is Steve the Neurotic Dog. He had to come.
Yep, Steve the Neurotic Dog is a delight. I've become a big fan of Steve the Neurotic Dog in a short period of time. Diana, thank you for coming. Diana, folks might know you from a couple of places.
Yeah, I've been part of the Laser Time Podcast Network for a couple of years now, and am a regular co-host, I guess, weekly co-host on 30-20-10, which is a weekly look back in pop culture. That specific week, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. So we've been going through 87, 97, 07. Man, was 87 a good year for movies.
Yeah, 87. And you mentioned movies. Movies are kind of, that's sort of the, I mean, you know about all pop culture, but you are the movie guru of 30-20-10.
I'm a giant film nerd. I've been a film nerd my entire life. My parents are film nerds. I'm a film nerd. And I don't know why. Just movie details and trivia and stuff just gets stuck in my head forever. And that's my jam, and not just recent or... mostly classic movies.
Really?
I'm a big classic movie dork.
So do you seek out the information? Do you go looking for trivia, or is it more a matter of watching the films and just taking note of things?
I think it's more just absorbing it as it comes. I mean, sometimes it'll be incidental, like Turner Classic Movies, they always have lead-ins and lead-outs where they like have a, little bit of a story from behind the scenes or some little detail or something. And that stuff always gets stuck in my head forever. And as a kid, I was, back before the internet, kids, would just have like the Leonard Maltin's movie guide, and I would just read it.
Yep, we had one of those in my basement growing up, I remember. Just sit and pour through the thing. Yep. Absolutely. For folks that aren't familiar with it, can you describe it?
It's a giant dictionary of film. That's it, just of every movie from every year, synopsis, cast list, star rating usually. And so, yeah, like Leonard Maltin or Roger Ebert or just... I don't know, Video Hound, Hallowell's, all of those, just flipping through them. And whenever you'd find like a 4-star movie I hadn't heard of or hadn't seen, it's like noted in the back of my head. And then hope maybe a video store has it. Maybe.
Just hope that you could hunt it down then at that point.
Some of these even now, even on the internet and like illegally, some of them are pretty hard. And then some of them, like, holy shit, it's on YouTube for free.
Yeah, it's odd. It is strangely inconsistent what's out there. I also enjoy old films. I do not have the I don't have the base of knowledge that you have, but I do very much enjoy the medium, and I'm shocked sometimes by what I can and can't find streaming. Yeah. Both legitimately or through YouTube or someplace else. I'm often, I want to watch. I couldn't believe that I couldn't find Straw Dogs anywhere, and had to purchase it on DVD. That was a surprise.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, Amazon streaming and Netflix in particular really weak on classic films, and there've been, articles written, and it's like why is it so hard? It shouldn't be that hard. You have kind of infinite space and infinite resources.
Is it a matter of margins?
It could just be a matter of margins. I don't know. I know Hulu. Does Hulu still have Criterion Collection?
They did last I looked, but it's been a while.
Yeah, so that's always good. And yeah, just finding stuff that someone somewhere is a fan of it, and they put it up in 8 parts on Dailymotion. Not legally at all. But it's like, what if it's not? Some things never went to VHS, and then some things never went to DVD. Yeah. And a lot of things haven't gone to streaming. Every time there's a format change, some stuff gets lost.
You guys actually had a really interesting episode about that on Laser Time.
About stuff that's not on DVD.
Yeah. One about stuff that wasn't on DVD, and another about media formats that kind of failed, disappeared, and what happened between them. Both of these, actually. When it comes to films that are difficult to find now, what's a gem to point out to people? Something for a holy grail for them to hunt down that they might that wouldn't be easy to get, but that's totally worth the trouble.
Ooh, that's a tough question.
I got a bunch of these for you at the end, but I'm jumping the gun.
There's a couple, like kind of the first thing that comes to mind is Eric von Stroheim's Greed, which is available in multiple cuts as a silent film.
Ooh.
But his original cut was something like 9 hours. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Do you have it?
No one has the original cut.
It's just gone.
It's just gone. But there's a longer cut, which is still like 2 hours, and there's a shorter cut that's like 90 minutes. And both, well, I mean, obviously the longer version is fantastic. And it's just interesting as someone in the Bay Area that's like all filmed in San Francisco in like 1917, 1918, I think it is.
wow.
Or no, early 20s, I think. And to see like, oh, they're on Shellmound Street. That's where the IKEA is now. Oh my God. It's like a giant dune. Okay.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
So the IKEA was a dune.
Yeah. It was just a giant dune.
Yeah, I was driving just to the city a couple of days ago, looking around and trying to. San Francisco has been a backdrop for dozens of wonderful films.
Yeah,
hundreds. You're right, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, it's a very very nifty looking place. But of all the San Franciscos depicted in film, what's your favorite?
Ooh, Maltese Falcon.
Yeah, Maltese Falcon, San Francisco.
Maltese Falcon, San Francisco.
Stuff that dreams are made of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I mean, they didn't. I don't think they even bothered filming here. I think they sent a second unit to like get some outdoor shots. I'm pretty sure they didn't even film in San Francisco, but they get the flavor. San Francisco and film noir just have been hand in glove since there was film noir.
Yeah.
Even detective stories. You know, Dashiell Hammett lived in San Francisco for a long time. He wrote about real places and real stuff, and something about Maltese Falcon and just the way all these eccentric, shady characters are all just sort of hiding under the normal life. That's like people just minding their own business, and all of a sudden, like, oh wait, this guy lives here too.
Yeah.
Like, what does he do during the day? Like,
Gets up,
what
makes
does Peter
cereal.
Lorre's like day look like? Is he sleazing around all creepy? He's like going down to the store. I gotta go get some milk.
That's kind of great.
Some cereal.
I like to imagine that. If you're not familiar with Peter Lorre, you'll know him if you certainly you recognize him when you see him. Yeah. I wonder. You've inspired me now. I want to write a screenplay for a contemporary San Francisco film noir about tech bros. I think that definitely needs to happen. What would a modern San Francisco film noir look like? I can't even fathom it.
Ooh.
Let's see. I don't know.
I don't know.
What would it be about?
I'm sure there's. I feel like maybe a new app or a new prototype cell phone would be the MacGuffin.
Okay.
The thing that everyone wants to get their hands on.
Sounds good. Now we're already well on our way to Antitrust, that fine motion picture. Oh gosh. Oh, that was terrible. that was a Tim Robbins vehicle, and truly that you haven't missed anything. I think my favorite moment in film set in San Francisco is it's one of the Dirty Harry movies where you're chased by a remote control car through the streets. There's a bomb on the car.
Right.
I do not, the Deadpool. That's in the Deadpool.
God.
The same one that Jim Carrey's the satanic rocker in.
Right.
But
I want to say it's sudden impact. Like the Dirty Harry movies, all of them are pretty authentic when it comes to like even their chase geography.
Yeah.
You know, if someone's heading down Columbus and then turns right, it's like, yeah, no, they did it.
They just
got it
follow
right.
the route. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, they're not bad.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's not bad.
I didn't know that about this.
Yeah, you see lots of, especially the first one, lots of good, locations that are still there.
Yeah.
St. Peter and Paul's Church in North Beach, and unfortunately the trestle he jumps off of onto the school bus they tore down a couple of years ago up in Marin. But
that's true. That's the problem with old cities, especially in America. We're not particularly kind to them. I was shocked. I was just
old is relative with us too.
It
it's
is
50 years old. We're like, ooh.
Yeah, it's like the Eddie Izzard thing with
Totally
Dressed to Kill.
is over 50 years old.
And if you're not familiar with that, check that one out. So we've done a little opening digression, which is very common here. No, there is. We've given up on all pretense of structure. We are going to go back to film and instant noodles, maybe also some during the story, depending on what's coming here. I'm not actually sure.
It's all about film in my story. That's
is
all
it?
I got, man.
Oh, okay. Well, then
all I got to live for.
We're going to leap right into that then. We're going to just jump right there and start with that question that's not actually a question. It's in fact a statement, but it sort of sounds like a question that I use until, we decide to change it. But right now, what we're going to ask you is tell us about somebody you're thankful for.
So, in keeping with my classic film dorkery, I am thankful for Katharine Hepburn.
Katharine Hepburn. Oh,
Katharine Hepburn.
I'm so excited for two reasons. One, Katharine Hepburn, and two, it's fairly rare on the show that people choose to go outside of people in family or outside of people that they grew up around. Mm-hmm. I love it when someone chooses to tell a story and connect with a human being that affected them from a different vector. So this is great. I'm really excited.
Well, I mean, the reason I'm going here is because I did live basically with Katharine Hepburn my whole life, even though I never met her. Because I grew up with Katharine Hepburn movies, with classic movies. The reason I grew up with classic movies, besides the fact my parents are both giant film nerds, classic film nerds, was when I was a little kid and we were the first family on our street with a VHS player.
Ooh. Wow. When was that?
Like 80, 81.
Okay. Wow. Really early for a VHS.
Like my dad drove up to New York and brought it back to Philly to get it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. But the idea of like we could watch any movie we want as long as we get our hands on it.
Mm-hmm.
And we also had a friend who had a video store and had already figured out you can hook up 2 VHS players and record the tape. Yay.
So he would take videos into the video store for his rental service, but before he put them on the shelf, he'd copy them?
He'd copy them.
And send them to you?
Yeah.
That's kind of amazing.
So I had Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back before anybody else had their paws on it. So I could watch it over and over. Because it was like, for a while there, you didn't really buy tapes. You rented them, and then that was it.
What's the first film you remember watching on your new VCR?
Probably Star Wars.
Oh, wow. Gosh, that must have been shocking in 1981 to be sitting in your home and there it was you know, if you had HBO, I remember that was where I was first introduced to Star Wars because they would play it almost every day and I would watch it almost every day as a kid. But the thought of on demand, just not having to wait, not having to check the guide. If you didn't grow up in that universe, Diana, can you express just what that was like? How mind blowing it was? Every
kid wanted to come over and watch Star Wars with me, and then we had tons of movies that we taped them off of network TV.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this VCR was like the serious old school. It weighed like at least 10 pounds. It had fake wood paneling on the front, and it had a corded remote that was just on off, one switch, and it was to pause while there was commercials, and then you unpause as fast as you could and just hope you got it.
Because you were recording your movies off television.
Off of television.
Yep.
And in our case, it was television with the rabbit ears.
Mm-hmm.
So there were a couple where it would get fuzzy for a second, but usually not. Usually it was pretty good. So like that was the version of 10 Commandments I watched over and over because they would run that on ABC near Passover and Easter.
Absolutely.
And so that was the version I saw, and I realized, oh wait, this is edited for TV. I'm actually missing a couple minutes.
I still watch 10 Commandments every year on that weekend. That is
I love it.
It's my favorite exploitation film.
It is so cheesy.
Yeah, it is.
So cheesy.
It's Vincent Price is so sleazy and swarmy and amazing, and I don't know whether he's worse or who's the guy who plays Dathan. I forget his name, the actor.
Edward G. Robinson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which it's like a sleaze off between those two. But I think it's all like Vincent Price going, soon you will sup of the flower or something like that. Just like ew, you're so terrible. But yeah.
Everyone overacts. Like it's like they're in the silent version and no one told them. Just everyone's so big.
Yeah, it's like somebody made an exploitation movie with $200 million. It's incredible. Love that film. If you've never seen it, I no joke, it is absolutely worth the 3 hours of your life just to see how much ludicrousness is happening.
Yeah, it's like you got the big spectacle and some cool 50 special effects and also just Camp City.
Yeah.
So campy.
So you had that one recorded off TV.
We had that recorded off TV.
Yeah.
And I think we had HBO at some point and also Prism, which was a HBO-like channel that went out of business.
Oh, I don't know Prism.
Yeah, that's it. It died.
Okay.
But I believe we Trading Places off of that, and I saw that copy a million times, even though it was not age appropriate.
Yeah, that was the fun with cable, especially early on. Nobody was really sure what the boundaries were, and they like to push those a lot. I remember, scrambled cable is a story for another show.
Sure.
That's a whole other can of worms if you weren't around for that. So Katharine Hepburn came into your life. Did she come in through the VCR then?
She came in through the VCR.
Okay.
Like the Beatles song. No. So, where I was going with this was that we had access to all these videotapes. My parents are classic film dorks also, and they realized, okay, the VCR is a good babysitter, and let's put on things that a kid would like, but also knowing classic movies, no swearing, no sex, no scary violence, no scary monsters, no blood. And, especially like MGM musicals, colorful, noisy, perfect to put like a 4-year-old in front of.
That makes a lot of sense.
And just go. And so I watched so many MGM musicals and Singing in the Rain and, even the That's Entertainment series when those finally started coming out. that's just the musical numbers. It's only the part you wanted to see.
Oh, really? They just cut straight to that. Okay.
That's what That's Entertainment is just a
Wow.
repackaging of
I didn't know
only
that.
only the cool musical numbers.
And you just ignore all the stuff in the
And we'll
middle.
just skip the boring parts, and it's just a bunch. It's like, YouTube before there was YouTube, of like, let's just watch this Esther Williams number. You don't want to sit through the dialogue. Let's just get to the crazy swimming.
That sounds spectacular.
So yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Oh, they
They're
really?
a lot of fun. So,
I do
that's what I watched.
do cuts of these exist anymore? I mean, can you get your hands on them? Are they on YouTube
yeah.
or floating around? Yeah,
yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
wonder.
That's Entertainment 1, 2, and 3. I'm sure you can find some.
Still find out there. That's great.
Yeah, or even if not, just hit YouTube and start looking some of them up, like Judy Garland the Pirate. You get to see the best number. There, you're done.
So you grew up originally watching these musicals. Did you encounter Katharine Hepburn through a musical, or was it?
No,
something else?
just one of the pile of movies. I thought, well, this will keep her entertained. She'll like it, whatever. And it's so weird looking back and realizing how many movies were in black and white I remembered being in color. I was used to black and white immediately, and somehow, like, I remember them in color. They were that vivid to me.
That makes sense.
That it just works.
Well,
I don't know why people
kinda
don't like black and white, because that had never made sense to me.
Well, my experience has been that growing up also watching a lot of black and white films, eventually I end up seeing seeing color also. I don't always remember it that way, but it's when I'm watching the film, I forget I'm watching a black and white movie in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
With a few exceptions, when someone's deliberately using the medium to fool with you, which happens occasionally.
Yeah. So why Katharine Hepburn compared to, say, being thankful for Gene Kelly or Fred Astaire or Bette Davis or any other classic film stars? Because Katharine Hepburn's type of, like, the roles that she played and how she played them seems to have really informed who I am as a person.
Yeah?
And I never thought about it until maybe 10, 15 years ago, when something like Disney princesses became super popular. And I realized that as a little kid, I never played princess, but I did play businesswoman a lot.
Businesswoman?
Yeah. My idea of a great time when I was a little kid was someone who works in an office and has to walk around really fast doing office things that are really important. Right now you have to deliver this paper because it's important, and then goes home to her fancy high-rise apartment and probably hosts a cocktail party.
And these are Katharine Hepburn staples?
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
Where are we going to see Katharine Hepburn working in an office, living in a high-rise, going to a party and having cocktails?
Desk Set.
Mm-hmm.
Adam's Rib, Woman of the Year. A lot of her movies that she made with Spencer Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
That's just, in general, that kind of, she played all kinds of different roles. She was in Little Women. She played, her roles changed, but she did have a kind of role that they put her in a lot because it worked. And a lot of it worked because it was very close to the actual Katharine Hepburn, if you read from biographies and her autobiography and stuff like that. Is that she's very no nonsense, kind of pushy, kind of a know-it-all, has no time for bullshit. And
all things that you generally see in Katharine Hepburn characters or
100%.
characterizations. Okay, so very much in line with her actual real-life persona. Yeah. What was different? I'm curious. I don't know a tremendous amount about her personal life. What parts of Katharine Hepburn didn't as often make it into film depictions that were part of her personality?
That's a tough question. Not a lot. She was very sporty and outdoorsy, and that shows up in something like Pat and Mike. She's playing an athlete. I'm not sure. The one big thing I think about, her relationship with Spencer Tracy is a tough one because they were never married. He was married the whole time to someone else. And he was very Catholic and had a deaf son and didn't want to break up the family, even though he was living with another woman. Yeah. And he was an alcoholic, and he cheated on Katharine Hepburn quite a bit and would go on drunken benders and disappear. I don't think that her being able to forgive that, I don't think you see much in her characters. And it's kind of a dichotomy of a Katharine Hepburn type character would probably not put up with that for very long. And she put up with it for 25 years.
Did she ever comment publicly on the nature of that tolerance?
Not much.
Okay.
Not just, I mean, mostly it was sort of like she knew he was a good person inside
Mm-hmm.
who had an illness, alcoholism,
Yeah.
and was trying to support the good side and not the bad side. But I think she tolerated more than I would have tolerated.
So
There's a point where I would be like, I'm sorry. Sorry, I love you, but no,
can't do that.
can't
do
do
that.
it.
Well, let's talk about the aspects of Katharine Hepburn you did choose to emulate. So we talked about businesswoman, high rise, and cocktail parties.
Yeah,
Are you a
Miss
businesswoman working in a high rise and going to cocktail parties?
I'm 0 for 3.
0 for 3 on
I'm
that.
0 for 3 on that.
But does that conflict with the self-image of the kind of person that you've become?
No, that doesn't.
Expound.
Yeah, I mean, the things that draw me to her compared to other actresses, and I mean, you could say, well, what about Joan Crawford or what about Bette Davis? Especially in their younger days, where they play also characters that can be pretty freaking tough,
Mm-hmm.
in what we consider really a masculine way. Even at the time, they would consider as like a new woman, masculine kind of. She has a job. So, yeah, with Katharine Hepburn in particular, because of the no-nonsense-ness
Mm-hmm.
that I've embraced more and more as I've gotten older.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've seen this before. I know how this is going to go. I don't got time for this. No.
Can you tell a story about that? A time that you found yourself channeling your inner Hepburn? And of course, questions like that are very difficult. I understand anecdotes are hard to pull out, but I'd really love to know.
One. I mean, the best easy example of that is, so I was in high school and college. I was in a bad relationship that
Mm-hmm.
I think got pretty emotionally abusive, and I was not helping. I was, sort of like the crazy makes you crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't behave well, but I think this other guy, the guy has legitimate mental issues, I think.
Okay.
And so finally, I was like, that's it. I'm done. Got rid of him. And then the very next guy I date, almost immediately I realized, this is the same thing again. It took me like a date and a half to realize, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he started really, I mean, a lot of it is like, he was a big drama queen, and everything was always these outsized emotions, and I'm supposed to be so supportive, and, and just, I don't want to get into all the specifics, but it was just like, what am I getting out of this relationship except feeling like I'm needed? I'm not really getting anything out of it, period.
Okay.
Just that. Realizing that's not good enough, and I'm not going to keep doing this. Honestly, I feel like I overcorrected after I realized, oh shit, I'm doing the same thing again. Overcorrected is like anything that anyone did that reminded me of my ex. I'm like, fuck! Run away. Like, no, never.
How long did it take you to realize overcorrection was probably taking place?
At least a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Took me a while.
But it seems like you figured it out.
I eventually figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I eventually figured it out. And
How long have you and Michael been together, if you don't mind me asking?
we've been together 17 years.
Wow.
We've been since we started dating, and we've been married coming up on 9.
Coming up on 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Angie and I have been together almost exactly the same amount of time.
Oh.
Yeah, we met when we were babies, and it kind of turned out. But that's my story, not yours. Let's go. What about Michael living with Katharine? What's that like for him?
Well, it helps that Michael's very easygoing.
Yeah.
He's a very calm person, and that's part of really what I love about him. At first, I was worried that calm was passive. And that he was just letting me steamroll him with the force of my personality, and realizing, no. It's not, again, like Spencer Tracy, not a passive guy, just easygoing until you push him too far. Then he'll let you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael's very similar, the same kind of thing, that he's pretty easygoing. He just go, picks his battles generally, and just... That's okay. Doesn't mind. Oh, hi, Steve.
Hey, Steve, what's up?
Steve
The dog has returned.
Yeah, just doesn't mind if I gotta just, be my annoying, angry feminist self about whatever.
Do you think of yourself as annoying?
I always thought of myself as annoying.
Yeah.
I think my voice is annoying. I think my know-it-all-ness is annoying. I think I'm pushy.
Do you
yes.
see that response in other people, or is that a self-doubt issue, you think?
Probably comes from like middle school and high school, me being even worse on those fronts and being picked on and bullied for them because I was weird. I was not like the other kids.
So when you see Katharine exhibiting those kinds of characteristics,
yeah,
do you admire her for it, or does it irritate you?
I admire her for it, but again, it's because of the context of the time.
Yeah.
In the 1940s or the 1950s, the idea of being, a single career woman was still pretty weird, and a lot of her movies, either she's a single career woman or she's a married career woman, but they don't have kids.
Right.
And even that's where being a married career woman's even more bizarre because it's like, why isn't your husband supporting you? And in something like Adam's Rib, where they play married lawyers, it never comes up. No one ever says anything about like, well, I guess like a kind of bad guy towards the end says something like, no, you shouldn't have to work. You should be supported and someone should take care of you. And it's clear like, well, yeah, she doesn't have to work. She wants to work because she's good at it and she enjoys it. She loves being an attorney.
I remember when I lived in Japan as late as 2010, 11, with talking to some of my students, and people would be getting married. And when they got married, the husband would get a large raise in salary because his wife was supposed to quit her job and have kids now. That was built into the system because that's how it's supposed to work. Right. But those norms were being challenged there as well. And there was a transition going on in that at the same time.
I got nothing against, if you want to have kids and have one spouse work and the other one not, or even not have kids and just not work and have other activities. That's fine. I'm about having the choice.
Yeah, the choice is the issue. I agree.
That's one of those things feminism people, feminists, often they get a bad rap for it's like, you don't want anyone to do this. No, I want everyone to be able to choose what they want to do. You want to have 8,000 kids and just wrangle them all day. That's like your thing. Go for it. Go have 18,000 kids.
Feminists get a bad rap?
I know, on the internet, especially.
Surely not. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, just the idea of like, I'd be a shitty housewife.
Yeah?
I'd be a shitty housewife. I wouldn't be very good at it.
What is your vocation?
Feel unfulfilled. I'm a copy editor. I'm a newspaper copy editor.
Oh, wow.
By trade. I know. I'm the last print journalist I know.
Okay. So you were a copy. What publications do you work for?
Well, I've worked for a couple. Mostly I've worked for newspapers, and I'm on a smaller community newspaper.
Okay. That's the best kind.
Yeah, it actually it's a weird paper. I mean, I'm not going to exactly name check it, but I work in a small and incredibly affluent community in Marin.
Okay.
Where, the median house price is somewhere around $4 million.
Yeah.
And, so everyone who lives there is either filthy rich or they've lived there a long time, and if they sold their house, they would be filthy rich.
Okay.
So that's weird. Yeah. Because their problems are not my problems. And what we cover is usually the planning commission and stuff regarding that, because you have all these millionaires who want to do different crazy things to their house, and all the millionaires around them who don't want their views or their privacy or whatever getting in the, I don't want to have to look at your swimming pool. That tree is going to get in my view of the Golden Gate Bridge,
Yeah,
so,
I thought I had enough with my Florida Homeowners Association. I can't imagine what this is like.
Not just the planning commission. Before you get to the planning commission, there's a design review board where you have to go if you want to change the color of your house.
Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah.
Is there a list of approved colors?
It's not that bad, but you do actually have to go into, like, here's a color sample. It's no longer ecru. It's now going to be eggshell. And they're like, well, I don't know.
Well, here's a digression. What's the best section of a newspaper?
It's the entertainment section.
The entertainment section?
And local news.
Oh, okay.
I have to say local news because I feel like newspapers are the only places that still cover stuff like school boards.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the on-the-ground stuff that will affect you day to day that you're not going to find online unless someone started a local news website or you've got really dedicated people on your like next door neighborhood or something like that. But is school boards and planning commissions and city councils make decisions that will affect you 100%.
Yeah. Deeply and profoundly affect your life in a lot of cases.
Even if it's just, oh, they're going to put in a parcel tax and, well, that just cost me $13 extra a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you're a renter, that's going to get passed on to you anyway. If you're a homeowner, you're immediately going to pay it. Yeah, the wastewater treatment board, that can affect what's going on in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not a lot of impetus to cover it. Because it's not very sexy, but you do want to know it.
So why do you have local papers carved a niche out doing this? Or
some of them have, or local websites here and there have been trying to, but it's because it's not very sexy.
Yeah,
it's pretty tough,
and
people aren't reading newspapers.
And not just working for a newspaper, but you're a copy editor.
I am a copy editor. I have the least sexy job in newspaper history. Yeah. People only hear about it because, you know, New York Times just fired a whole bunch of copy editors to streamline things. And it was nice that the journalists protested for us because the copy editor is kind of the last eyes on the newspaper.
Yeah.
They don't assign stories, even though editor's in the name. Once the story comes in, we read it for, you know, accuracy, grammar, usually write the headline, figure out where to put it on the page so everything fits. Is often part of it. That's becoming more of a graphics job. And it's kind of like the last line of defense to make sure something really libelous doesn't get through, that pubic library doesn't get through.
Have you ever seen an embarrassing copy editor flub that's a favorite for you?
Oh gosh. I saw one. I was starting to look them up and put some on Twitter when with the New York Times copy editor thing, finding some of my favorites. There was something from New York about Mayor Bloomberg. I really like that one.
Mayor Bloomberg.
Bloomberg.
Ooh, okay. Mayor Bloomberg sounds like a character in something. Would it be maybe an Earthbound? I don't know. Mayor Bloomberg.
Bloomberg.
Like that one. That's pretty great.
And there was something about, like, if you're feeling cold, crap yourself in a blanket.
Oh, crap yourself. There we go.
Yeah.
Well, it would keep you warm for a minute.
For about a minute.
Yeah.
Then it'll cool off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It always weirded me out how poop was warm. I don't know. Frightens me a little. I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah, you get used to it if you got a dog.
Katharine Hepburn ever play a character in working for a newspaper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. Desk set.
Oh, of course.
In fact, I was thinking, that's another one I was thinking about more. She's, in that one, she's working, I think it's for a TV station, but she's the head of the resource library. Yeah. She's the person who does all the fact checking. And I was like, yeah, I forgot about that until well into journalism school and then realized, oh my God. Oh my God, it's happening.
When did the moment of self-awareness come? We're just like, wow, this person I never met and the characters they depict and I have kind of followed a kind of a parallel course. I
would say it was sort of early college, and I can actually bring this into a very specific anecdote. Hi, Steve. In 1996, in the summer of 1996, I was about to start my sophomore year in college.
Okay. And
I got some sort of monster illness that like they thought was mono maybe, but I was out for 3 weeks where I couldn't do getting up out of bed, going downstairs, brushing my teeth. Now I'm done. Now I got to go lie back down for a couple hours. I was so sick.
Sounds like mononucleosis.
It could have been mono, honestly. I was sucking on ice chips and like nibbling on crackers. I couldn't hold anything down, and it went on for weeks.
Ooh. Were you hospitalized?
No. Nope. Never really went to the doctor. It was sort of like,
Sorry, I laughed.
Yeah, no, I kept like, Mom, I'm like dying or something. And Mom's like, hey, you don't really have a fever. No, my glands are really swollen. I'll call the doctor, but he doesn't think it's anything. 3 weeks go by. Thanks, Mom.
That's great.
Hands off, Mom. Yes, I mean, I was slowly improving, I guess, but so I was watching a ton of movies, taking constant breaks, so I'd take a nap halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
And then I started like reading old magazines we had lying around the house, and one of them was like they would put out these one-off classic Hollywood movie type things about like, here's some old photos you never saw before, and here's an article about this set decorator. And one of them had a letter section, and someone said like, I would love to write to Katharine Hepburn. What's her address? And she lived by the UN. She had a home address. And they just printed it.
She lived in Dakota, right, for a while?
Maybe.
Okay.
I know Lauren Bacall did.
Yeah. Oh no, Lauren, I'm mixed up now.
Lauren
Here I am
Bacall
interrupting
lived
a
in
great
Dakota.
story. Okay, please continue. I'm sorry.
So
I got my stars mixed up. Huh?
It's not that great a story. It's going somewhere.
It's going somewhere here. I'm breaking the flow up. That's what I did.
So really, and it just somehow got into my head. Like, I really do like Katharine Hepburn. She's great. And it's just started thinking about, like all the stuff that I've said about like being raised on her movies and you know, having the kind of getting the message. It's like a woman can do anything a man can do, and you know, don't put up with bullshit, and it's okay, and people are gonna hate you and, you know, use homophobic slurs against you, fine, whatever, but it's okay, you know, just stand up for yourself.
Okay.
You can do it. Yay, women. Woo. And so I wrote her a letter, and I was still so sick that this letter, I would love to read the whole thing, because I know I rambled and got weird and was just like, you know, and telling her about that I was raised on your movies and I used to play businesswoman and I thought I'd want to live in a high-rise apartment and taking an elevator to home is like the best thing. And,
this is so great.
And, you know, that's so, and then at the end, I'm just like, you know, I'm sorry. I'm sure you get plenty of letters. I don't know why I'm bothering. Anyway, I'm in film school. Bye, Diana Goodman.
So you did go to film school?
I did. I was a double major.
Oh, okay.
I was a double major. That's why I was on the 5-year plan.
Film and journalism.
Film and journalism.
So you wrote her the letter.
So I wrote her the letter and promptly forgot about it because when I wrote a fan letter to an 89-year-old woman who lives somewhere I've never met her, never knew, whatever. Some assistant maybe picks him up and goes, and so something like 7-8 months later, I'm back in the dorms and a letter from New York shows up, a personal one. And I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden I remember what happened. And inside was, I'll show the camera and then I'll read it. I didn't bring the actual letter. I have a picture of it. Inside, from Katharine Hepburn. Dear Diana Goodman, what a really nice letter. Thank you for your enthusiasm and for bothering. Good luck to you. Signed, K. Hepburn.
Wow.
So that's my most prized possession.
Oh, is it enshrined in crystal in your home?
It's framed in a safe place. It's not even out right now.
Fantastic.
I could not believe it. Not just like, oh, getting a letter back, that's so cool. But it's like, wait, they're mentioning me ending with like, I don't know why I'm bothering. Have a nice day. I'm in film school. Bye.
She read your letter.
Someone read my letter. And she signed it. And it's kind of shaky. And that makes me think, oh, it's probably her then. She was kind of shaky at the end.
Yeah.
That was
she
like
was
her
very,
thing.
very, very old.
Yeah, yeah.
Point. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Like,
I've never heard you tell that story before.
I haven't really. No,
Well,
that's just...
You got a letter back from Katharine Hepburn.
Back from Katharine
What was it like for you? I'm asking you, what was that like? That's a lame question. How do you? The story probably carries it. I mean, it's.
Well, I mean, to set the scene, I'm like standing in the entry to the really shitty dorms that I lived in.
Yeah.
And so, like, most of this bunch of stoners are walking by, and everyone's just bored and dull. And I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm opening it up, and what's happening?
Yeah, was it a sense of shock?
Yeah, it was mostly just shock. Because I barely remembered writing it because I was so freaking sick.
Yeah, so
and in retrospect, a sick person should not be sending letters to an 89-year-old. I could have made her sick.
Well, I'm glad you did.
What if I killed Katharine Hepburn?
I don't think you killed Katharine Hepburn. It was 7 or 8 months later.
It was years later. No, it was years later.
No, that she wrote you. I mean, she lived at least that long. I don't think you got her. But that does lead to kind of a final question that ties to a theme I wanted to ask you through this. So you were inspired from your childhood and through the course of your life, a love for film, by a person that demonstrated a lot of their real personality and their characters, but still, when you were encountering them, were playing fictional characters. Yes. There was a common person portraying many people.
Yes.
So you fell in love with a person that was also a series of stories.
Yes.
Stories that mostly weren't factual, even if they were true.
Correct.
And that has deeply molded the course of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think?
Works of fiction by different teams of people, different writers, different directors, all not a lot of people in common, except that sometimes, usually they're the same type of movie, possibly by the same studio, but they're a type of character that was often tailored to this particular actress.
Looking back from this point in your life at the person you are now and the person you hope to be tomorrow, what do you think of building foundations for your life on stories like that?
I'm kind of two minds, because I've never liked the idea, despite being such a huge film fan, the idea of retreating into fantasy to avoid hard reality has never sat right with me. I feel like no matter how miserable reality is, you have to confront it, even in little bits, even tiny bits, a little, day by day, whatever. You can't just run forever. Yeah. Sorry, gamers.
There's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, RPGs in particular, I think can
the high degree of escapism that's a part of it.
Yeah. So
I think that's a double-edged sword, definitely.
Yeah, but on the other hand, stories are how we communicate with each other in a lot of ways, on a deeper level than surface level. I mean, we're pretty much telling stories all day. Like, you come home and you say, your spouse or partner or your cat or whoever says, like, how was your day? What'd you do? Well, now you're telling them a story. Hopefully you're not making anything up. You're just telling them, I went to work, and then Greg was a dick, and then I had lunch, and then I came home. I mean, technically that's a story.
Yeah.
Character, plot, resolution.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know what kind of an answer that is.
It's a good answer. It's a thoughtful answer.
All things in moderation is kind of how I'm trying to live my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Greek ethos for you there?
Yeah. I feel like everything could be okay as long as you don't go too far with it.
Diana, thank you for that. And thank you for sharing the story about Katharine. Hopefully I can pick your brain about it a little more later on here, but we're going to take a quick second for that little transition point here where we thank our Patreon producers, Nick Ray and Robert Nieder, whose generous support makes the program possible. Thank you. Oh, sorry, I interrupted you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Along with lots of other folks who give on Patreon. Thank you so much for keeping the show going. And also all of you who subscribe and who rate us on iTunes, which helps a lot. So, 5 stars is always the correct rating. 6 if it's available. Those who follow on YouTube, etc. Tell your friends. Thank you for making Pockets Full of Soup a joy to do, a joy to be a part of. Now we're going to make that hard left turn that we often do, Diana, into the strange and wonderful land of instant noodles. Are you ready for Pockets Full of Soup's lightning round?
Okay. Give me a second. I'm going to drink some water. Loosen up.
All right. Just going to loosen up here. Eye of the tiger. Eye of the tiger. There we go.
All right. I got this.
Now, we're going to go to some of the standards here, but I think a lot of these I wanted to tailor for your film interests. I really do just adore movies. So that's actually first question. Films or movies?
Films.
Films. What do you prefer?
I don't know. Movies sounds rather frivolous.
And film is not necessarily frivolous?
Yes and no. I get with like the all things in moderation. I'm a big fan of middlebrow entertainment.
Okay.
I've really come around to it's like there's some French art films that I just don't understand or just can't get into, and there's always going to be something that's just dense and artsy fartsy and just slightly beyond me. But on the other side, there's your Adam Sandler comedies. I'm a big fan of like your King's Speeches.
Okay.
Your Oscar bait middlebrow entertainment. I feel like is just on the other side of the film movies line.
Besides the King's Speech, what are some others that succeed in being great middlebrow films?
in a similar vein, Atonement. I just rewatched Atonement because of Dunkirk.
Okay.
Because that's got a great Dunkirk sequence in it. Really like that movie.
Dunkirk or Atonement?
Atonement.
Atonement. Okay.
She's coming up on 30-20-10. Weekly look at 30-20 and 10 years ago.
Yeah, and while we're plugging that again, I love 30-20-10.
Well, thank you.
I adore your program. I was first exposed to you through Laser Time, but you are a shining beacon of cinematic light on 30-20-10.
Oh, thank you.
It's a great introduction. I listen to 30-20-10, and then I go watch movies all week that you remind me existed that I haven't watched in 20 years.
Yeah.
Or ones I've never heard of and go back and find.
That's been the fun thing, because we're going week by week by week to run into movies it's like, I forgot about, or I never heard of, or maybe I'll give it a second try. Oh my God, that turned out to be great.
Yep.
Or to just go back and, really appraise, like we've had Predator and RoboCop. We got Princess Bride coming up for 87.
Yeah.
And then we end up with like The Last Emperor, which is like, well, one of these things is not like the
And then of course Diana's Classic Corner.
And then we got Classic Corner, where I go 50 and 75 years ago.
Yeah.
That same week, which is a little tougher because sometimes there's nothing to recommend, but then something will like relate to something else, and I'll be like, oh well, this is not a good Marlene Dietrich film, so here's a good Marlene Dietrich film. Everyone go watch this one.
What was a few months ago you were talking about something Olivia de Havilland was in? What was it?
Olivia de Havilland?
Yeah, I said it wrong, sorry.
I push the heiress a lot. I think that's her best performance.
She's still kicking, right?
She's still kicking. 101.
Amazing.
101. Wow. Just sued the makers of Feud.
Yeah.
Which they filed a motion to fast track it because, P.S., she's 101. And it turns out in California, there's a law where if a plaintiff is over 70, they fast track it.
So
she's
actually,
old.
That's great. So she sued Feud because of their depiction of her.
I guess so.
That's
she didn't like it.
Amazing.
I don't know. I thought she was depicted pretty fairly, but okay.
Somebody probably should have checked.
You'd think is the only person still left alive out of all of the characters. Actually, that's not true. Their daughters, Joan Crawford and Betty Davis's daughters, are both still alive. Betty Davis's daughters, she's got interesting views.
Oh,
interesting. She's an evangelical preacher who now says Betty Davis was a literal witch and saw her levitating and summoning the devil. So
those are interesting views.
Okay.
All right.
She was there and I wasn't. That's fair. I don't know.
Maybe Betty Davis could levitate. Who knows?
I wouldn't put it past her. She's tough. She's tough.
So jumping back to what you're saying about middle brow, let me ask you this: you're saying you're trying to stick to the middle on things, find good common ground. What is an example of excess in film that you really do enjoy and appreciate?
Camp.
Camp. Okay.
I love me some big camp. That's why I was when they announced Feud, it was like, I have something to live for. I really thought it would be the campiest, craziest thing ever. And it turned out to actually be pretty thoughtful and interesting and not just, psycho-bitty slapfest or something.
Were you happy that it was more nuanced, or were you kind of sad that it wasn't more campy?
Oh, I was much happier that it was nuanced and interesting.
Right.
To give the exposure and the thought, the idea that Joan Crawford and Betty Davis had so much in common and yet fought horribly. And this was spurred on by basically the men in the industry could profit off of this.
Yeah.
And so it's about their being exploited, and if they had united, they would go total Super Saiyan and probably rule the world. So
what distinguishes good camp from bad camp?
Intent. I mean, you can't. It's really hard to force camp. That's why I got no time for your Sharknadoes.
Okay.
They're trying to force it. You can't force it. The Room is fun because it's so earnest.
Yeah.
He really thinks he's saying something important. And you have to know kind of what you're parodying, or like where you have to understand the structure that you are now going to blow apart.
Yeah.
And that's why I think one of the best camp movies of all time is Beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, yeah.
The Russ Meyer movie, because it knows exactly what it's doing. It's taking something like Valley of the Dolls, which is super stupid, honestly, a camp film. I love the classic Valley of the Dolls. Yeah. Absolutely my favorite bad movie. because
Oh.
it's so stupid. Because it's made in 1967. It has zero indication it's made in 1967. It looks like it could be 1947.
Okay.
Everyone takes everything really seriously, but what they're saying is really stupid. It's the everyone's overacting so crazy. And so the original Valley of the Dolls, it's fun because they really think they're making it like a serious message picture.
Yeah.
That is going to like win all the Oscars, and it shows Patty Duke's not a kid anymore. She's grown up. And she's
Right.
fighting for her man and doing drugs and going to the nut house and ripping wigs off of people. Oh, she's crazy. And then beyond the Valley of the Dolls, Russ Meyer knew that the studio basically wanted him to like make that again, but like make like, you know, a cool like rock and roll version, because it's been a couple years, the youth movement has happened, Hollywood's finally catching up. Make kind of the same story, but have it appeal to the youngsters now, to the young generation. And instead he fucks with them. He does literally make that movie. I mean, it is about like three girls go to the city, their loves, their losses, drugs, fame, men. But it's also halfway through the movie, you know, a woman starts having an affair with another woman, and they have a confrontation where it's like, and what about your father in the Senate? What will happen? That is like, wait, what?
Okay.
Her dad is a senator this whole time? What is happening? It just... Also, great songs. It's amazing songs.
Oh, I love that movie. I really do.
Amazing songs.
So is it the turn it up to 11 element of it? But
yeah.
And the self-awareness in that? Like,
it's the self-awareness. It's not like I don't feel like they're trying to make camp.
Yeah.
They're trying to make something it's a little bit, we're trying to freak out the squares, and it's a little bit like that it's parody of the previous straight version.
Yeah, but if listeners to Pockets Full of Soup are aware of my strange obsession with Riverdale, but that's one of the things I love about it, is that I feel like it nails self-aware camp pretty well. It by the time it's found its footing, it actually, I think, has a delightfully well done self-aware version of that. Yeah, it's kind of actually Beyond the Valley of the Dolls is kind of a spectacular comparison to that.
Oh, that is the most interested I've ever been in Riverdale.
Yeah,
based on that, not people saying like, "Oh, it's really good" or "Oh, it's interesting." It's like, no, they know what they're doing.
Oh no, Riverdale is all about sticking your finger in the light socket. They're just like, you want a shock? We aren't subtle. You know, that's how it works. Everything is always the darkest, worst, gloomiest. Maple syrup is evil on Riverdale. Literally evil. There's witchcraft and mysticism going on and murder, and it's beautiful. I really like the show. But nice. Check this thing out sometime. I'm always trying to convert people to Riverdale. I've fallen in love with it. That said, you actually already answered another question I had for you, which is what your favorite bad movie is.
I want to say the 67 Valley of the Dolls.
Okay.
It's not one scene goes by without something inexplicably stupid happening that they think is really clever or meaningful or something. But, oh, man.
Who's your favorite character actor?
Ooh.
So, who's a working actor you really enjoy?
Oh, there's so many.
Mm-hmm. Well, give us a couple then. That's fine.
Okay, Emmett Walsh. Anytime he shows up, he elevates stuff.
And since we're talking character actors, give people some context as to where they've seen these folks.
Okay, gosh, Emmett Walsh. I mean, I'm trying to think. His starring-ish role would be Blood Simple, the first Coen Brothers movie. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think anyone that's like qualifies as it's that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
I always liked him.
That's one of my very favorite parts of film is finding these friends I didn't know I had.
I feel like he might have graduated from character actor a while ago, but Steve Buscemi.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's, if you're lead on a TV show like Boardwalk Empire, I feel like he's not character anymore. That's who Steve the Dog is named after, by the way.
Oh, Steve Buscemi?
Yeah, his official full name is respected character actor Steve Buscemi.
used to be a restaurant in near where Angie and I lived named Number One Super New China Buffet. And Angie and I said if we ever had a show dog, that was going to be his long name. Like they do at Westminster when they go out and they give the full name.
Yeah, that's his full name.
That's a great name for a dog.
Respected character actor, Steve Buscemi. I'm trying to think of a good classic one, too.
Yeah. A classic character actor that kind of stands out. Yeah.
I guess Peter Lorre would count as that. Yeah. He's so great and so strange.
He's an odd dude.
So singular a person, and he was, I mean, a good actor. I mean, you see him in something like M, where he's, in his native German, and I mean, he's a bit over the top, but he's also pretty scary. Well, he's a child murderer, so duh. But yeah, when you see him anything from Casablanca all the way through to like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, he's just no one quite like him.
There's really not,
and he's just kind of an odd duck.
Peter Lorre sometimes feels like an argument that extraterrestrials are already among us and trying to acclimate us to the way. You mentioned earlier Peter Lorre in San Francisco and the Maltese Falcon. Yeah. But I kind of got that impression just about him in real life. I really wonder what he did all day, every day. You probably know some of the history of that.
Apparently, he's a very nice guy. Yeah. He moved from Germany with the rise of the Nazis. He was roommates with Billy Wilder.
I didn't know that.
My favorite filmmaker of all time, by the way.
Oh, Billy Wilder's your favorite filmmaker?
100% Billy Wilder. Yeah. I don't even think about it anymore.
Okay.
I'll get to that in a second. Okay. But apparently he was sort of a nice, mild-mannered kind of working actor. Didn't take himself too seriously. Just sort of whatever, job's a job. All right, I'll show up.
Well, what about Billy Wilder? Why Billy Wilder?
Because he could do everything. That's what is mind-blowing. There's so many directors that they can do different genres or they can try different things, but they usually have the one thing that they're really good at. It's like Martin Scorsese, who would probably be number 2, honestly, for me. Obviously, character studies, gangster character studies. That's really kind of his wheelhouse, but he can also do something like Age of Innocence, which I think is a great movie. He tries different things. Silence was difficult, but a great movie still.
I really like Silence.
Yeah, obviously something Raging Bull or Goodfellas. That's the epitaph right there. That's the kind of movie that he does the best. I don't know if Billy Wilder had a kind of movie he did the best. Because, he started out as basically a comedy writer. Yeah. First of all, writing comedy in not your native language. It blows me away.
Yeah. Like Joseph Conrad writing Heart of Darkness.
I can't imagine how long I would have to study French or Spanish, the 2 languages I barely speak, to
write comedy.
Be able to write, comedy that's not just like, oops, I fell down.
Yeah.
Hey, what's that? You look like a dog. Oh, I fell down. So we started out writing comedy for Ernst Lubitsch, another comedy genius, and then went straight into making drama. He did something like Lost Weekend, which is kind of a noir. Double Indemnity, the greatest noir of all time. Dark, brooding, unhappy, sad, and a downer kind of movies. They're just gritty and tough and mean. Yeah. And then he goes back to comedy and he starts making wacky-ass comedies. Some Like It Hot, which is incredibly wacky. It's about 2 men wearing dresses.
It's the screwiest of screwbally things.
It's so goofy.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And they start getting sillier and sillier. And then you find a balance. Like The Apartment is the Billy Wilder movie. Sure. It's the text because it balances it. There's a lot of really fun, goofy comedy. And there's also some really tough, deep character, meaningful stuff. And also, a satire of business culture. Yeah. And sexual mores. All in this
all working in a marvelously entertaining movie.
Yeah. And it's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really fun and also romantic and sweet and just tough. And I always say anyone who watched a single minute of Mad Men that they liked, if you haven't watched The Apartment, what are you doing? Turn this off. Go do that. You can come back.
Yeah. The Apartment is the lost season of Mad Men. Absolutely. Or or maybe Mad Men is the lost sequel to The Apartment. That might be more appropriate.
Oh, it's so good.
It's great. I agree. I'm with you on that. Diana, thank you. I really, this is actually the first time I've ever met you.
It's true. We know a lot of people in common.
Yeah.
But we haven't met.
And it's delightful you were willing to do this. Thank you so much.
You don't have any more instant noodles for me? I'm ready.
No, we're good. I think we've gone about the length of our. But if you want to follow up, I tell you what, we could do if you want to spend a few minutes on a Patreon exclusive, I'll hit you for a few more.
Sure.
And then the good people that have our single serving Patreon tier can come in and listen to it.
Okay.
So, all right, we'll do that here in a few then. Diana, before you go, we mentioned it a little, but plug away. Tell people about the interesting things you're doing because you make great stuff.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the main thing I'm on, I do pop up occasionally on the Laser Time podcast. Anytime there's something old-timey or movie related, they try to get me in so I can correct them on things. And that's a lot of fun. I mean, a couple of my favorite episodes, I went through pulling out like all the classical music that you hear in cartoons and explaining actually where it's from and giving you the name so you can sound like a smarty pants.
I haven't heard this one yet.
That's from a couple of years ago.
I haven't
but
heard
that was a lot of fun. A lot of good feedback. People were like, I've always wondered what that was called. Let's see. But yeah, mostly 302010, which is at 302010.net. Those are the words, not the numbers. We just end up unearthing interesting things from 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and 10 years ago. A lot of interesting films we end up turning up. Like I said, 87 has been great. 97 is about to get great. We've hit Full Monty already.
Yeah.
And we're heading towards LA Confidential and Titanic. We're going to have a lot to say about those, I'm sure. So.
I love LA Confidential so much.
I do too.
It's so good.
I do. I've seen it like 20 times. I don't care.
Oh yeah, me too. It's an every 6 monther for me. I give it. Man.
I love it so much. And Titanic will be interesting because
because it's Titanic.
I actually have some things I will defend in Titanic, but a lot of things I will not. And
Titanic has the virtue still of being my favorite riff tracks.
I've never watched that one.
They do well. They're on.
Sounds good.
They're on for
I
that
got
one.
weekend plans now.
All right, there you go. I hope you enjoy it. And I hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching and listening. You can always send mail to the show at mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com. Don't forget the Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group where you're welcome to visit. And Dan, what's your Twitter if folks want to find you?
I don't tweet all that much, but when I do, it's usually about movies. So at LicinANerd, LeCineNerd.
All right. Thank you so much for watching, listening, friends, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you.